Welcome to the Brand Lincoln Podcast, the show where we dig into the stories behind Lincoln's most inspiring business owners and influential people. It's where big ideas and even bigger personalities collide. Proudly sponsored by Perch Merch, your one-stop shop for screen printing, embroidery, and promotional products that make your brand unforgettable. Call us at 402-217-5212 or visit us at perch-merch.com to give your business the glow-up it deserves. And don't just listen, be a true multitasker. Like, follow, and subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. And check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Brand Lincoln Podcast. We're basically everywhere you waste your time. Let's get inspired, Lincoln. The stories start now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln. I am your host, Chris Beecham, joined by my two co-hosts, Joe Cruz and Henry Schmidt.
Hello, everyone. We're off to a great start here.
Hey, Chris. Yeah. So today in the Perch Merch studio, former model Joe Benish of Highlander Contracting Group, because you had to start a contracting group because your model.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it sound like I'm a bigger company.
Got it. Where did the name come from? Tell us what it is, where it came from, what you do.
Well, I hate naming companies. I've had to think of a couple company names throughout my lifetime, and I absolutely hate it because I always feel judged. But this one, it just kind of came to me. So the Highlander cow is my wife's favorite animal. And so I was just sitting down one day and it just kind of hit me and like instantly saw my logo, saw my colors, and it hasn't changed since then. I sent like a little sketch over to the lady that drew my logo, and she kind of sent me some revisions, and I was like, no, I really just want it to look exactly like I drew it, essentially. And that's, yeah. It's like, I appreciate your ideas, but really just like, let's...
As a graphic artist, you must have drove her insane.
Probably.
You probably said make it look cool.
But the logo does look good, so
Thank you.
I can't say like it's bad.
Well, I think I had to explain, like, no, the little part in the middle is like the cow horns. And that was a big thing for me because I was like, I got to make sure I don't look like the Texas Longhorns because, for one, I picked like the burgundy, which is one, a no-no in Nebraska. Two, if I do the Longhorns, I was like, I will get
double
outlawed, blacklisted really, really quick. So I had to be really careful there. But big thanks to Hannah Hunley, who actually designed this. So been very happy with it.
Well, did she design it though? Because what you basically just told us.
I will give her full credit. And then I've started to realize too that the Highland cow is not just my wife's favorite animal. It seems to be like everybody's wife's favorite animal. Because as I've given out hoodies and shirts to people, I'll get a text from guys like 2 days later and be like, "Hey, my wife wants a hoodie. We'll pay you for it. Like, loves the cow." And I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just my wife, but
yeah. Which funny story? Yeah, you came into Perch Merch to get all your hoodies and stuff, and I had to Google what a Highlander cow was because I didn't even know. And that's a badass looking cow
everywhere.
I thought there can be only one Highlander.
They're everywhere. And
see, there's that.
And I didn't know. So that movie's older than I am, and I've gotten that from a lot of the old people that I meet with. They're like, "Oh, so like there can only be one," and I'm like, "No, it's actually just a cow. Not that."
No, there's a lot of cows out there. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's wild. Almost like every single new construction house that I see is staged with like the big Highlander cow photos, and you see them at Menards. You can get like a 3 foot by 4 foot giant Highlander cow. They had inflatables for Christmas this year. And
so it works out perfect.
It works out really well. I was like, I never realized how common they were until I named it. And I'm like, they are everywhere. And I've even like talked to homeowners about it, and I'll meet with them a second time. And they're like, ever since we met, I see nothing but Highlander cows pop up on my Google. And like,
yeah, which is a sign.
Yeah.
Well, it's
to hire you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Huh. Okay. So how did this come about? What's the origins?
Oh, man. So I've always had a love for working with my hands. Anyone in Lincoln has probably known a Benish at some point. I have a huge extended family. Most of us are either in farming or construction. One big misconception is that people think I have money because I'm a Benish, but I actually come from the poor end of our family. So I gotta clarify that. Because again, it's very rare that I meet someone they're not, oh, are you related to such and such? Yes, we're all connected. So I kind of grew up around farms, working with my hands, working in my grandpa's body shop, things like that. I mean, there's pictures of me at a young age working on my little Tykes workbench. You know, I just always loved getting my hands dirty. And then out of high school, I really was convinced I was going to go become a priest. And I thought that's kind of where God was calling me. So I was like, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to go frame houses. I got to work on a framing crew for about 2 years. Really, really fell in love with construction at that point. I just loved just watching the house come together, really honing in on those little details, because it really is the details that take, a simply built house into a really well-built house. If you can't focus on those details, like the end products will be two completely different things. So I really kind of started to fall in love with that. And that's kind of where my journey started. From there, I went and had worked with another remodeling company for a few years and kind of helped grow that business. And then, over the last couple of years, it became really evident that we were on different paths, and started to kind of see God opening other doors for me and pulling me in a different direction. And I wanted to get back to new construction. So about a year ago, that's kind of when I made my jump, and just kind of went head first. And it was definitely a scary transition because, for one, my wife stays at home. And for two, I left the week that we had our second kid. So it was kind of there's no option but to succeed here. Like, I can't really, putting everything on the line a little bit, and just kind of dove head first. And that's kind of what's brought me here. It's wake up every day, work hard, and work on growing a business.
Yeah, which I think you're doing a spectacular job on. I mean, that's why we wanted you on here.
I appreciate it.
I've realized very quickly, one, you're very detail oriented, and you're very strategic in everything that you do. You're also a big networker. You're all about the relationships. And then when I say relationships, like, what intrigues me about what I think whenever I think of a good builder, I think of somebody who's using the same subs every time, that they all know each other. They're all on the same team. You're not just getting a bunch of bids and finding whoever's cheaper. That's not you. And for me, that's the right way to do it. But I know that's just kind of not the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things when I wrote out my core values. Relationships was one of my core values I wanted to focus around. It's when I talk to people, I tell people all the time. I had a meeting right before this where the guy was talking to me, and I was like, well, really, I don't consider myself in the business of construction. I consider myself in the business of helping others. And a big part of that is like maintaining and fostering good relationships. All my subs, I have great relationships for. I called one of them the other day, and I was like, hey, he was my digger. And I was like, I need you to look at this project. There's a lot of dirt that needs moved. I was like, where are you at right now? And he's like, oh, I'm digging up a sewer line on such and such street. And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. I was going to see if you had time to come look at this. He's like, well, where's it at? And I was like, Brandon, it's you're in a hole. Like, don't worry about it. He's like, no, tell me the address. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
He wanted out of that hole, though.
Well, he wanted out of the hole, but, and it's a testament to like what good relationships can do for you in construction, and just being able to foster those. And I even, in terms of homeowners, it's like I really want to be able to meet people. I don't want to come in, build their house, move on. Like, I want to be able to follow up in 3 months, 6 months, a year. How's the house doing? How are you doing? Just how's life? I want that to be a long-term relationship that we can actually foster. And I want to make sure that when I walk away from your project, that you don't just get through the 1-year warranty period and then it's see you later. It's actually like, 10, 20 years from now, you can still take pride and be happy with the house you have and know that it was done to a high level and a high standard.
And a Highlander.
A Highlander standard.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say you like envisioned when you first? Okay, so obviously you didn't become a priest.
Yeah.
Your wife's probably thankful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then, could you be a priest and a builder at the same time?
No, I don't think that would work.
Like the holy builder?
You could be a carpenter.
I try.
Think about that.
There's a lot of spirituality in being a carpenter, that's for sure. But no, I don't think that would work. It was really kind of one or the other. And obviously, I'm still devout Catholic to this day. We raise our boys Catholic. We named our second kid Augustine. So I mean, anyone that hears that's like, oh yeah, they're Catholic.
Yeah.
So I've loved every second of it. And even as a framer, I remember telling my boss at the time, like, yeah, I really love to become a builder. And it's very surreal, like watching houses go up that I'm fully in charge of. And like, there's definitely been some emotional moments where I'm like, this is literally the career I wanted and I'm doing what I wanted to do. And I love it. And it's really not like, there's a lot of fear when I kind of went out on my own. But realizing that when you do things right and you do things the way you want to do them, a lot of the stress goes away. Obviously, there's still day-to-day stress. Not everything goes perfect. But when you can really just step back and like put things in place, set people up for success, it really eases a lot of those stresses. And it just gets enjoyable to where now I feel like I'm more stressed about the fact that I'm not as stressed, if that makes sense, where I feel like I thrive off of stress at times.
Sure, yeah.
So now it's like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I go try to sign a crappy job that's going to give me headaches just to like, which again, a great problem to have, but it's kind of weird to like see the amount of projects I have under construction and understand like I can sleep well at night. I was like, these aren't keeping me up. Like things are going about as seamlessly as they can. I mean, nothing's ever perfect in construction. I say all the time, like if I wanted to work with competent people, I wanted to pick construction. So yeah, it's that's kind of life.
What would you say you specialize in then? Like what's
your ideal job?
What's your favorite?
My ideal job. So there's a couple projects that I really love. I have a huge passion for custom homes. I really love taking someone's vision and then kind of implementing it into a house that they can live in long term. You know, not necessarily like a 5-year house, but more of like, this is where we want to settle down. Because I love diving into that plan, really analyzing, well, how are you going to live in this? How's this house going to flow? Let's hone in on these details that are kind of going to take this house a step further to make sure that, you know, maybe let's move this wall 6 inches because we're going to add this space here. Or maybe we'll expand your pantry, or let's consider doing this. I love diving into those details with people before we even sign a contract, just to make sure that by the time we start construction to the time we finish, we can be fully confident that that house is going to be like as close to exactly what they need. I've never heard of anyone that moves into a house and is like 100% like wouldn't change anything, but trying to get that as close to that point as we possibly can. I love going through that process with people. And then on the flip side, I also do love doing home additions, because primarily just for the challenge of them, because they do provide a lot of challenge when you're taking an existing house, trying to expand it. Those are kind of the two markets I like to spend the most of my time in.
The home additions are a different beast.
They are a very different beast, and it's a very competitive beast. There's a lot of incompetent contractors out there that like, I'll give a price and someone will come back and be like, oh, this guy was $80,000 less, and I'm like, there is no shot. Good luck. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, you know, I'm never going to badmouth a contractor to a homeowner or anything like that. But it's also, you know, understanding what a home addition takes to get it from concept to completion is a huge process. And for me, it's very enjoyable because it does present a lot of unique challenges that are just enjoyable for me to overcome. I don't love building homes, but there's also, you start the process, you set everyone up for success, you handle the hiccups along the way. Home additions, it's a lot of like, it's like a boxing match with the house almost, of like, well, this is what's intended, this is the situation we've got to deal with, and we're trying to figure out the concept, how to implement the concept into pre-existing conditions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you don't mind getting dirty, because I mean, we were going to record this before, but you were like digging a foundation. What were you doing?
So
were you putting in drain tile?
So I had one. So I have a plumber that I work with consistently. He couldn't get to a project for me, so he recommended another plumber. Great guy, heard great things about him. He was going to go do it. Long story short, he fell through, and my flat worker needed to pour that Friday. And I was like, well, we need drain tile done first. Flat worker doesn't do it. I was like, well, I'll be out there 6 a.m. Go run it. Like, I'm not afraid I will show up for my guys any day of the week. And that's what I tell them. Like, I'm not going to delay a project. If it means more for me to go out there, spend 2, 3, 4 hours working to keep the project on track. And again, it comes down to setting your guys up for success. Like, I'm not afraid to do that at all. Same thing. We had a home addition. It was like the week before that one, actually, where we were cutting open a huge chunk in their foundation, and my guy doing it was like, I mean, I can do everything. He was like, I'm just a little iffy on taking that much of a foundation wall out. I was like, I'll strap up the tool belt, be right there with you, and we're going to make sure that the main floor doesn't become the basement. That's a huge critical key piece of home additions, is making sure that the floors stay in line.
Yeah,
exactly. So same sort of deal, where I think I was there for maybe 3 hours, and we're making sure everything stays structural as we're removing chunks of a foundation. So not afraid of it. Is it ideal? Do I want to be on site 40 hours a week? No, because at the end of the day, I've got more things to grow my business and stay organized from a different level. But I'm definitely not afraid to show up and work hard to make sure my guys are in a good spot.
Where do you see Highlander construction in 5-10 years?
So that's a great question. So you kind of have I kind of look at it where you've got like a couple ends of the build spectrum. You've got like the independent builders that can do millions of dollars of work a year, but are very implemented into every single part of the process, from the customer acquisition to the drafting to the project management to the estimating, everything, where it's one guy from start to finish. And then you've got the other end where, again, I'm not going to name names, but you start to build a company, try to pump out 50, 60, 70 homes a year. And you start to lose a lot of quality control. I don't necessarily see myself on either ends of the extreme. My biggest thing is, where can I provide value? How can I best grow a team, and how can I best provide for my customers? In my mind, that's somewhere in like the 10 to 20 homes a year range. But it really just kind of depends on what's going to be natural growth. I don't want to force growth. I don't want to sacrifice quality for growth or profit. Quality and customer experience and relationship is always going to be my main points of concern. Because when I wrote out my core values, it was transparency, excellence, and relationships. Those were the three things that I want to maintain. I want to grow as far as I can while maintaining that. If that's me staying on my own for another year before expanding, cool. If that's me growing a team of 10 guys, wonderful. Not 100% sure exactly where that's going to fall.
I love that answer, though. Yeah, you're just kind of open.
Yeah.
You know?
Again, like it does go back, like I'm very discernment-based Catholic, to where it's like I want to understand where God's calling me to provide for others, and I'm going to continue to do that. You know, if I have to turn away a project because it doesn't fit my mission or values, I'm not afraid to do so.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, because again, you're basing all of your business off relationships and referrals right now, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing a mass media campaign.
Well,
and I think you're giving those away on Facebook, so you can get on and order.
100.
That helps,
Yeah, I think
helps us here at Perch Merch.
I think I'm due to give you guys a whole lot more money here in the next week or so.
Yeah, hence why you're on the podcast. So, born and raised in Lincoln?
Yes, sir. Have not moved very far. So I grew up in the Highlands over here, and then when my wife and I got married, we moved to like middle of Lincoln for about a year, and now we're right back over this way. So have not gone very far.
Were you doing anything like building wise? Like, were you like a kid who always wanted to build stuff? Like, where did it come from?
I've always wanted to build like Tinker Toys, Lincoln Logs.
No, Tinker Toys were the best.
Wonderful.
Henry, you have no. How do you know what Tinker Toys are?
I was a kid that loved to build. Here's some blocks, go build. And again, I grew up on farms pretty much every weekend of my childhood. So there was always, I remember at like 2 years old running around my grandpa building a barn, and I knew where he hid gum in his toolbox, and I'd be climbing up ladders looking for his packs of gum. And, so I was always very like exposed to construction and things like that. And it was just always something where I loved getting my hands dirty. I love to work, I love to build, and I love to construct, which is a weird thing. Like I tell people I love construction, and they look at me and they're like, I thought that was just for like college dropouts or something. I'm like, well, lucky for you, I did drop out of college, but
yeah,
it's like I also love what I do.
Stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what's your most fun project that you've done?
Oh man,
or unique,
it
or
depends on what you define as fun. So I have one remodel going out in Denton. It's a huge, like 5,000 square foot house that we're pretty much gutting down to studs, reconfiguring everything. That has been the most challenging remodel I've ever done, since the whole thing is essentially built out of concrete. There's no like floor joists, so running ductwork, running electrical, running plumbing is like impossible.
Huh.
That one is like fun and unique and challenging, and it's the rough-in process on that had me beating my head against a wall many, many times. That one has had a lot of hurdles to overcome. Nothing that we haven't been able to, but a lot of things that have taken many hours of planning and figuring out and adjusting to get the desired outcome. And that's where remodels and home additions get really difficult, is when, you're given a goal, but you have to figure out how to get to that goal with pre-existing conditions. You can't build the whole process from day one around the goal as you can in new construction. You're really, okay, we've already got steps 1 through 10 done with the existing house. Now we have to figure out, where do we go from here to get to the desired goal? Ideally within a realistic budget too. So that one's been the most challenging, I would say, as far as projects go.
Do you have any social media accounts for the business?
I have a Facebook.
That we'd be able to see any pictures of these? Or
so I don't post as much as I probably should. And that one's, we're getting ready to drywall that one right now. So I don't like posting projects that are
you don't like
apart.
that are
posting
studs.
They're ugly.
Yeah, where it's like once it's done, I'll probably give some progression shots and things so people can kind of see the whole process. But I don't want a potential prospect to go and be like, "This house looks like crap."
Yeah.
You're like, give me 6 months.
It is a beautiful, beautiful home that I'm extremely excited about to finish out and show off when it's all done. And I really want to, host some open houses there and things to show it off, because it will be a truly like high-end luxury home. It's got beautiful grand entryway with a big curved staircase and stuff, which you don't see in Lincoln at all. So very excited for it, but that one's definitely been a challenge, I would say.
Any swimming pools?
No, I would love to, but swimming pools in Lincoln are an expensive market, that's for sure.
Where did that come from?
Well, you said that he's fun, cool stuff. I thought swimming pools were pretty fun.
Yeah, I've definitely done a handful of projects, but I'd have to dig pretty deep into my to my repertoire. This one that I just sent Chris over here to get me a paint bid on in Boulder Ridge, that's probably going to be my favorite house that at least I have on my projected list for 2025. That's going to be a really fun build. That one's going to be very custom, very designer friendly, and just a lot of really cool features to that house that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah, because right now you're mainly building in smaller towns.
Yeah, I love the smaller towns. Because it just feels like everything moves at a different pace. People are a little more realistic. Like you get a lot of people in Lincoln that are like, well, I know this builder builds for this much a square foot, so why are you at this much a square foot? And I'm like, well, they give you these. There's a lot of builders that give you blanket numbers, and 90% of the time that doesn't include the cost of the land, that doesn't include any upgrades, and you're asking for all these upgrades, which is why we got here. I was like,
I'm giving you more of a
exactly,
true price,
and I don't want to. Again, I'm never going to sit there and badmouth another contractor.
Wasn't one of your core values transparency?
Exactly, and that's where I'm very clear with people of like, this is exactly what you get. I was like, if you want a house at this price, I can give that to you, but what you're telling me you want is not going to. You're not going to get that at the price that you're looking at over here. That's where Lincoln gets tough because you get a lot of these production builders that go and build whole neighborhoods for whatever it is, a square foot, and everything's finished cheap. I mean, I have my uncle that lives in one. He calls me about every 2 months with problems, and he's like, well, why is this doing this? Why do we have ice on our walls in the winter? And I'm like, well, it's because it was built poorly. I was like, and good luck, getting the builder back here to fix it. But
ice on the walls.
Ice on the walls. Yeah, very poorly insulated. Mostly in the
if insulated.
Well, and that's the issue too, and it kind of comes down to like what I mentioned in the details is like when you frame your corners poorly, there's a couple different ways to frame corners in a house. One way makes it really difficult to insulate them. Another way makes it really easy to insulate them. Most framers don't want to frame it the right way because it takes 30 seconds longer. But those are the things that if you watch as the house is being built, you can mitigate, and then you can make sure that in the first winter you don't have ice forming in your corners. So little things like that go a very long way.
Well, you convinced me. I'll be calling you whenever we're building something.
There you go. Do we get a referral fee?
Absolutely.
All right.
Do I get a hoodie?
I can maybe hook you up.
All right, cool.
Is there like a builder that you kind of looked at that you were like, I like how they're doing a lot of their things?
So the builder that I learned the most from would be Kleinschmidt with Pride Homes. He's who I framed for quite a bit when I was on a framing crew out of high school. And he's kind of on that extreme end of the spectrum where, he has no employees, very implemented into every single detail of that house. But his minimum house is like $3 million. But there's a reason for that because people that spend that much money want a guy like him that's, if you see his houses will blow your mind. Like the houses he builds, I'm like, it blows my mind as a builder where I'm like, how do you even come up with that stuff? He's who I know and respect the most. I mean, I've known him since I was a kid. He coached my Little League baseball team. So I've had connections to him for a very long time, but that's kind of the one builder that I really look to quite a bit. I just really respect the way he builds. I think in terms of just overall construction and build knowledge, I think he blows every other builder in Lincoln out of the park. And that's not to try to throw shade at any other builder. I just think he's on a whole different level.
We can throw some shade at some other builders.
That's once the mics are turned
okay.
off.
We're going to tell you the mics are turned off. And then
What's the weirdest request you've gotten, whether or not you've done the job, Joe?
Oh, man, that's a hard question. I get weird requests on every single project because everybody has weird requests. And then I'll be like, I don't know. I've never been asked that.
Like, hey, can we turn our bathroom into a pantry? Something like that.
No, I haven't done that.
I want
so
two
there
toilets in my bathroom facing each other.
So one weird request is I did a shower that was like 12 feet by like 8 feet, like massive shower. Granted, they only asked for 2 shower heads. If they asked for more than that, I would have been like, I don't know about this one. That was, but really like nothing super weird. I usually talk people out of like the weirder things because I'm just like, have you thought about being normal? And they're like, oh no, I haven't thought about that. It's
now that you mention it,
it's like, yeah, now that you mention it, that would make a lot more sense. Some people just have like a way of thinking, and when you present them with like functional or normal options, it's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think. If I dug deep enough, I could find some really weird requests. But it's been a while since I've had anything super crazy.
A staircase to nowhere.
No, nothing
like the old
that.
Chicago downtown.
I have
Yeah.
I have said that one of the only things I'll never do is put carpet in a bathroom. I was like, that's about the only thing. Other than
That's
that,
a good rule, though.
I
I'm
will
gonna
try
agree
to,
with you.
and that's just like it's just gross. Don't ask me to do that. Other than that, I tell people I'll do just about anything they ask me to, but I'm definitely going to give you a lot of reasons not to if it is something that's like out of the ordinary. Most of the time, when some people ask for something super weird, I'll give them better options.
Well, you mentioned beforehand that you're now pursuing a life of a DJ too.
Not life, just one night. That's it.
One
That's
night
it.
only.
That's how it
And
started
that-
for a cruise too.
Well, and that goes back to when my wife and I got married, and we were young and had no money, and it was one of those things where it's like, well, it's hard to cut costs in a wedding because everything is just stupid expensive. And so I had two friends that I had asked independently. I was like, hey, would you guys consider DJing? Because separately they're pretty introverted, but together they've got one of the best personalities I've ever seen.
Like the Wonder Twins or something.
And independently, they both said, yes, I'll do it, and I'll grow a mullet. And so that's kind of how it came to be. They recruited another one of our friends, so there were three of them, and they wore Canadian tuxedos and bolo ties and had full mullets. And it was one of those things where it was like, they wouldn't let us pay anything, so we only had to pay for the DJ equipment rental. And I was like, this is either going to be like the worst decision we made the entire day of our wedding or like the best. And it turned out being the best. And that was like the best, most fun DJ experience I've ever had. But through that, we made the deal. I was like, you guys looked like you had more fun than I did today. I was like, we're going to make this deal where when one of you guys gets married, that the other three of us are going to go DJ. So
it's a pact.
It's been a pact. And now they want me to grow. So we got a text from one of them over the winter, I think. And he said, hey, boys, you better start growing your mullets. And my wife was like, Joe, absolutely not. Like, you cannot grow a mullet. I was like, I don't think I can just for business purposes.
I think it would
feel like it might work.
It's like it could work.
When's the wedding?
It's in May, June, July.
This is
sometime
late.
this summer.
I
have
got
too
a
many
wig you
weddings
can
this summer.
borrow.
Yeah, there you go.
I also have one, but that's where I started having the idea, and that's why I was asking you about doing like a full tearaway suit. I think would just be prime opportunity for it, which would probably make my wife more upset than if I just grew a mullet. But so that's kind of how it came to be. And
If you think you're getting weird questions for builds now, if you have a mullet,
exactly. I feel like it would start to funnel me into a market that I'm not sure I necessarily want to be in.
I like my
We
house.
put two trailers together.
I want my house to be like a mullet. So you walk in, it's all business oriented, but you get into the backside.
It's party.
Party in the back. I like it. All right. So where can we find you on social media? Phone number?
Yeah, so website just launched a couple weeks ago. It's buildhighlander.com. Great place to go take a look. Very happy with how it came out. Big shout out to True North for all the design and all the work that went into that. And then I also have a Facebook page that is just Highlander Contracting. And then phone number 402-617-0365.
Call anytime.
Call anytime.
Free estimates?
Free estimates. Free consultations.
Free relationship building?
Free relationship building. Should probably be a little more specific. But
You might get some weird calls.
Hey, buddy, I just wanted to talk.
Yeah, we're leaving that in.
Girlfriend just left me.
My wife won't let me grow a
So you
mullet.
need a new place to live. Let's build you a house.
There we go.
Well, Joe, while you're not, digging holes and building houses
And DJing.
and DJing,
Modeling.
what do you like to do around town for fun and entertainment?
Oh man! Once I got married and had kids, that kind of went out the window.
Oh,
Yeah, they really, they're fun
and I mean
killers.
that in the best way possible. I absolutely love and adore my wife and two boys, and we definitely want to continue to grow our family. But new business means a lot of long work days, and then the hours that I do have available is typically family time. And with two boys under two, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for extracurriculars. I am a very avid basketball player, and when I say avid, that doesn't mean good. That just means I enjoy playing basketball.
Just consistently playing.
And I also love to hunt and fish, and those are kind of my three big hobbies, I would say. And when I say I love to fish, I mean I probably haven't fished in like a solid 2 years.
Well, that adds up
doesn't-
to,
yeah.
to the age of the kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, give it time.
Yeah.
Exactly. My wife was like, I think our kids are probably getting old enough to take them fishing.
Yeah,
Like, there we
yeah.
go.
They'd like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The key to that, though, they have to just
Well, I don't think
Stay
they're quite to
still
the age
and-
where they
yeah.
realize like, oh, we can't just run into the lake. Like,
Put them on a
And
boat.
catch
Yeah.
the fish. Yeah. What do you hunt? Where do you hunt?
oh, I'm a Benish, so I've got farmland on all over Nebraska, but mostly out by Valparaiso area.
Deer.
So deer, and that was once my wife and I were engaged, she finally convinced me to go deer hunting with me, and I put it off for a really long time. And we were literally walking out, and I had the biggest buck in my entire life jump out, and I shot it within 5 minutes of us being out there. And I was like,
that easy every
I
time?
should have brought you out way sooner. And it's still one of my favorite lines I've ever said to my wife. She helped me gut the deer, and she was about elbow deep in this deer, and I looked over at her, and I was like, I think this is the most attracted I've ever been to you.
Or she just
She
tagged
just wanted
along.
to go along. She was trying to convince me the whole time, and I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, my idea of a romantic date isn't like bundling up in freezing temperatures.
Well,
to
most guys
sit
go
next to
hunting
each
to
other.
get away from their wives.
Yeah.
You brought her.
Yeah, I was like, you do understand, like, we can't talk, like, we can't do anything. Like, we're just gonna be sitting there and
Sitting there in
cold,
silence.
Like, it's cold and
And if you do kill one, there's blood everywhere.
Has
Yeah.
she gone back since?
once, and it was more like what I expected it to be,
Yeah,
and she was
yeah.
like, yeah, I don't. It's
Yeah. She's like,
This
well,
is
I
your
thought,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like last time.
yeah. She's like,
got
that
one.
wasn't. Well, she grew up around farms too, so she's got the country blood in her too, so that it helps. But still, it was like I'll actually just sleep in and not come out here.
Any favorite restaurants or anything?
So I'm a huge proponent. So in terms of local restaurants, I love Billy's downtown. That's kind of my wife and I's go-to spot. I know the owners over there. Phenomenal spot, very unique atmosphere. And then HF Crave is probably like my other favorite restaurant. I used to do a ton of meetings over lunch, and nobody would ever want to pick. So I would always say we just go to HF Crave. And I think there was 1 week I had lunch there like 6 times in 1 week.
Like business meetings?
Business lunch.
So I love it, but yeah, for a business,
Yeah.
I'm too busy with a
And
napkin half the time.
it's a nice spot. Like, it's not too fancy because you never know how to like set the tone for a business meeting. You don't want to go super fancy, but you're not going to be like, oh, let's go hit up Runza. So HF Crave is like a good middle ground.
Yeah, between
Um,
Billy's and
and you
Runza.
support, you support local, and it's just very good food. So those are my 2 spots.
That was good, Joe.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.